Hey y'all, welcome to Restless Chipotle Kitchen. Today we are making Christmas cookies and they're some of my favorites. I hope you'll like them too. What you're going to need are Hershey's Kisses. You're going to need 48, one for each cookie, and you're going to want to unwrap these. Now, unwrapping used to be the chore that I gave to my little kids, and I always made sure that I had double the amount of Hershey Kisses because you know about half of them disappeared during the unwrapping process. So you'll need those, and you'll want them unwrapped because once it gets to the point that you're going to put the Hershey Kisses on the cookie, it goes really fast. You're going to need all-purpose flour, baking soda, and baking powder, a half teaspoon of each. On the recipe on the blog, I have all baking soda, but since I wrote that recipe and I do have to rewrite it, I have found that I really like the baking soda baking powder combination better. I think the cookie is a little browner. I think it has a little more flavor. Either way is fine. It's going to work either way you do it. You're going to want vanilla, creamy peanut butter, and let me tell you, nobody loves a good homemade peanut butter or a good organic peanut butter like I do. But when it comes to use in cookies, you want the kind from the store, the kind that has stuff to keep it from separating. So Jif or Skippy or one of those, just plain smooth peanut butter. You're going to want light brown sugar or dark brown sugar, whatever your preference is. The dark brown sugar is going to give it more of a molassesy kind of dark, the darker flavor. The light brown sugar gives it more of a kind of caramely flavor. It's just up to you what you want to do. You're going to need the granulated sugar, and you're going to need more granulated sugar to roll the dough balls in before you put them in the oven, and then half a cup of plain butter. All right, and the measurements for all of this, are always down below. I was trying to hurry and I got this butter a little bit too soft, but you want room temperature butter because you want to be able to whip it up good. So I'm going to use it anyway, but try not to let yours get that soft. That's what I get for being in a hurry. So the butter and the peanut butter are going to go in our bowl, the bowl of our mixer. And then I'm going to mix it up on about medium, just until it's really well blended and kind of creamy. Once that's all mixed up, I'm going to add my egg and my vanilla. And like I said, this butter was a little softer than I would like, so your butter and peanut butter are not going to look quite this liquid. I'm going to get this down so you can see what I'm saying. So this is kind of more liquid than it would normally be, but just make sure your butter's at room temperature and you'll do fine. So I'm going to start my mixer back up, and I'm going to add the egg and the vanilla. Y'all, I'm kind of embarrassed because I did this backwards. I think it's going to be okay with the final product. Maybe you are going to do this sometimes, so I'm just going to go ahead with it, and I'm not going to edit this part out, but I totally forgot to put in the sugar. The sugar should have gone in after the peanut butter and butter were creamed, and I totally forgot about that. So I'm going to put in my sugar and brown sugar now. Again, you're going to want to scrape down your sides. Really important to do. All right, that's nice and mixed up now, and I'm going to change the beater to the paddle so that I don't break up my beater blades. And then I'm going to add my flour, baking soda, and baking powder. This recipe does not need salt, excuse me, because there's plenty of salt in the peanut butter. Once that starts to come together, I'm just going to scrape down the sides one more time and make sure that I'm pulling up from the bottom as well. And then I'm going to mix it just really quickly. At this point, you want to put the cookie dough in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. You don't absolutely have to do that if you're in a super big hurry, but your cookies will be shaped better, they'll taste better, and it'll just work out better if you do. If you want them to chill really fast, one of the things that I do is push the cookie dough to the sides so that it's a thinner layer, because of course a thinner layer will chill quicker, more quickly, whatever. A thinner layer will chill more quickly than a thicker layer. So that'll help it chill even faster. All right, see y'all in 30 minutes. Okay, our dough is chilled. And I'm getting the cookie sheet ready, and I like to use parchment paper on the cookie sheet. I like to use unbleached parchment paper, honestly. And if you're not going to use parchment paper, use a silicone baking sheet, or just spray the cookie sheet down with a little nonstick spray, but then spray it down and wipe it off. You don't want too much because you don't want the cookies to spread. The one thing I don't like about parchment paper is you put it on there and it's just all, it's all over the place. And the way that you can combat that is to just get a little bit of water and sprinkle it on the baking sheet. Then put your parchment paper down. Since the parchment paper has a waterproof coating on it, it's not going to get your cookies wet, but look at that. The parchment paper sticks down perfectly, and I don't have to worry about it flying around anywhere. So that's just a little trick that I've learned over the years that I really like. You can also spray it with nonstick spray and then put the parchment paper on it, and that'll help it to stick too. But just water, I mean, it works just fine. I was a little worried because I got a late start today, and the sun was going down, but I think almost the light is actually better than it is normally when I do it during the day, so maybe this is a good thing. All right, so this is easiest if you have a cookie scoop. I have a cookie scoop, but the one that I need for this size cookie is broken, and I haven't replaced it yet, and I keep saying I'm going to, but I haven't. You know how that goes. So I'm just going to do this by feel, but you just do it with a cookie scoop, okay? Makes it a lot easier. Anyway, so you're just going to roll the peanut butter dough into a ball, roll it in the granulated sugar, and then just put it right on the parchment baking sheet. Now, during the holidays, you can roll it in red sugar, green sugar, any kind of sugar crystals that you want to roll it in. I didn't happen to have any today, so we're just doing it in granulated sugar. The cool thing about the colored sugar crystals is the crystals are a little bigger, so they give kind of a nice crunch to the cookie when it's cooked, when it's all the way baked. And of course, if it's the colorful ones, they're pretty, but it's fine. They work just as well. They taste just as good without the colored sugar. So you're just going to take the ball, roll it in your hand, and then roll it in the sugar, and then put it right on the cookie sheet. If you want to make these ahead of time, you can do this and then put the whole cookie sheet in the freezer before baking. And once these are frozen in about an hour, you can go back and grab them and throw them into a freezer bag or a freezer container, anything like that. Then when you're ready to make cookies, all you have to do is take them out, put them on the sheet, and bake them. You probably only need to roll them in sugar again too. I usually do, because you know, you can't have too much sugar. This is the South. And they're very handy that way. Most cookie dough works that way, whether it's a drop cookie or a shaped cookie. You can almost always freeze a cookie dough and then just go back and make it when you have time. That way you can always have fresh cookies. Do any of y'all remember the rolls of icebox cookie dough? I think I've got one of those recipes on the blog. But I was just thinking about those today. My mom had an icebox cookie dough for pretty much anything, any kind of cookie you'd want to have. And she kept them in the freezer. And we weren't allowed to have them because she was keeping them for company. So it wasn't a matter of taking some cookies out like when you got home from school or anything. It was like, oh, well, the preacher's coming over for supper or Sunday dinner or whatever, and you know, pull the cookie dough out of the freezer, slice it up and bake it so that there was fresh cookies. Those were the days, huh? I don't know why I got off on that, just did. What we're gonna do, if you haven't made these before, and I bet most of y'all have, I'm really thankful that you're watching the video because I'm thinking most of y'all have done this 100 times. But what we're going to do is we're going to bake these just until they're done, but they're still soft, and then we're going to pop the Hershey Kiss right on top. And I've seen people put them back in the oven after the Kiss goes on, and I think that's just amazing. I've never tried to do it that way. What I like to do is I will throw, while these are in the oven, I'm going to take these Hershey Kisses and I'm going to throw them in the freezer, and I'm going to let them be frozen so that when I put them down on the cookie dough, they don't melt quite so much. But you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, so remove everything. So these are all on the cookie sheet. They're ready. We're going to put them in a 350-degree oven for 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, and I will see you back here then. Okay, there's our cookies. They're still soft, but we have to work really, really fast. And I've got my frozen Hershey's Kisses, and I'm just going to push them right down into the cookie as quickly as I can. I'm not going to push them like so that they put a hole in the bottom, but just enough to get them in there securely. And they're going to crack. That's part of the charm of this cookie. As they cool, the bottom of the Hershey's Kisses are going to melt a little bit, and that kind of helps them stick and be stable in there. But they don't melt so much that they turn into a big glob, and that's why I started freezing them first. Because when I was putting them in the cookies at room temperature, they would melt a little bit too much, and they would just be very melty, and sometimes they would just be a big glob and you couldn't tell it was a Hershey's Kiss. But this way they melt just enough to, see, melted. They melt just enough to kind of adhere to the cookie as it cools, but they still hold their shape, and I like that. You may not like that, but I really do. If you prefer that they get more melty, then don't freeze them. Just put the Hershey's Kisses on at room temperature, okay? But we're gonna let these cool down, and then I'll be back. Well, it's starting to get kind of dark in here, and my dogs are ready to eat. These cookies are done. They've cooled down. They're just a little bit warm. Look at that. The Hershey's Kiss kept the perfect shape, and it's not too mushy. They still haven't cooled down all the way. It's got a beautiful golden color on the bottom, nice little shine from the sugar. So pretty. So these are delicious little cookies for a cookie tray. And the dog's starting to act up because she wants to be fed. I'm trying to hurry. These are pretty little cookies for a cookie tray. Since the cookie dough itself freezes well, it's perfect for the holidays. You can put them together really fast. and they're so good, at least if, you know, somebody likes peanut butter. Now, my son's girlfriend has a peanut butter or peanut allergy, and so I just want you to know that if there's a peanut allergy, you can use like a almond butter or a soy peanut butter replacement or something that's not peanut butter, okay? You can do that and they'll be fine. Just use the same amount. And just dust it with a little powdered sugar. Give them a nice little frosty look. And there we are. The powdered sugar, I think, is pretty on there. The Hershey's Kiss holds its shape. And because we froze it and it's holding its shape, it was still able to melt to the bottom so that it's on there. So if you happen to want to ship these somewhere, they're going to make it without all the Hershey Kisses popping out, okay? That's what I love about these. These cookies have been around a long time. I used to make them when my kids were small, and on Christmas, my mom would come over to the house. This was back in like 1985, 1986. And Mom would come over to the house with one of those crazy Christmas sweaters from, I think, Mervyn's on, or maybe it was a Christmas sweater vest. Anyway, she would get a new one every year. It was always crazy, and she would always really chow down on these cookies. She loved them, and I love them too, and I'm willing to bet that you're gonna love them too. They are so full of peanut butter flavor, and then when you bite into that chocolate, delicious. They do travel well. If you're sending them overseas to, like, when my kids were in the military, when my sons were in the military and I was sending them overseas, they do get a little bit stale by the time they get there if it's going to take like 2 or 3 weeks. But if you're sending them in the United States, they will be fine being shipped in for a couple of days. They'll still be fresh when they get there. And like I said, the fact that these they meld to the bottom, you know, they melt enough to meld to the bottom, so they're not going to get there with all of the Hershey Kisses popped out or anything like that. But they're so good. I hope you'll try them. I know you're going to love them. And just put them on your Christmas cookie trays. They just are a really nice addition, and they're so easy to do. I think that's it for this week. I love y'all. Don't forget to leave a comment. And don't forget to leave a thumbs up. And come back next week. We'll be doing something else just as fun, just as delicious. And yeah, I love y'all. Bye-bye.